At 28 or 30 or whatever age you are at the moment, you look at your accomplishments and you tell yourself that this is not where I expected that I would be now. This video is for all those of you who feel like you're behind in your career or perhaps even in life in general. I know that there are a lot of people who feel like they are behind in their careers or even in life in general, but not many people are willing to talk openly about it. And I think that a reason for that might be that by talking about it, it's kind of an admission to defeat or admitting that you haven't achieved the goals that you set for yourself. So today I want to get to the bottom of what might make some people feel like they're behind in their career and their lives, and whether there is any truth to it, and also what you feel that you are behind of. I'm also going to talk about what you can possibly do about it and how the concept of multiple careers might change your whole perspective. And most importantly, I also want to share with you why it is better to feel behind in life now rather than later at the end of your life. I can think of two reasons why people might feel behind in their career or in their lives in general. And the first one is because they use other people's careers or success as a yardstick for their own success, meaning that they compare where they are right now in their career and life against what is generally expected in society or by your friends or by your family. So in this case, you are still thinking of success in terms of objective success. And by objective success, I mean the commonly understood definition of success by society in general. And that usually relates to parameters such as physical possessions, salary, and your position in your company. So when you first started to work, you might have certain expectations in terms of what kind of milestones you wanted to achieve at what age. For example, that at 25, you want to become a manager, at 27, assistant vice president, at 32, vice president, and so on. And perhaps by the age of 33, you wanted to achieve a six-figure salary and a huge bonus every year. And you might have set these kind of milestones based on the success and experience of the people you saw around you in your circle of friends, relatives, or acquaintances, and you thought that this could be what an ideal career would look like, and this is what I want to achieve for myself too. But then as you started working, then maybe things didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to be, and you look at your goals and see that you didn't achieve what you set out to achieve. And at 28 or 30 or whatever age you are at the moment, you look at your accomplishments and you tell yourself that this is not where I expected that I would be now. I expected that I would be much further ahead than where I am now. And there you might feel a bit of disappointment, a bit of blaming yourself for one or another mistake that you made, and that is where you start feeling behind in life. And the other reason why you might feel like you are behind in your career is not because you compare your accomplishments with other people's accomplishment, but because you by nature are a very ambitious person who has set very, very high goals and standards for yourself. And these standards were just too unrealistic, they were too high, and you feel like you kind of let yourself down. And these are much more subjective measures. For example, you might have set yourself a very ambitious goal that by the age of 25, you already wanted to become a very famous photographer, or by the age of 28, you already wanted to have your own business that generates $5 million of income each year. So you set the bar for yourself very high, but things happen on the way, and now you're 25 or you're 28 or 30 and you haven't even started to work on that thing that you wanted to do. So these might be the kind of subjective measures that you set yourself. So not because you're comparing yourself to anyone else, but because you yourself have these very high standards and ambitions that you want to meet, and you want to prove something to yourself. And I think that this should be the battle that you should try to fight. So out of these two, objective success success and subjective or personal success parameters. Which one actually matters? So let me know which of these two applies to you specifically. Is the reason that you are feeling behind in your career because you are comparing your career to someone else's career, to where they are in their career? Or is the reason because you are comparing where you are now against your own success parameters? If the latter one applies to you, then congratulations, because at least this means that you are fighting the right battle. So what is so bad about feeling behind in life? Why should we do anything about it at all? Feeling that you're behind in life or in your career sucks the energy out of you. If you feel behind in your life, you feel like you are somewhere you're not supposed to be, and you're feeling bad about yourself and your accomplishments, that takes away all the energy, effort, and attention that you could otherwise use on productive things that can actually change your life and your career for the better. So the first important thing that you need to do if you feel behind in your life is to try and identify what it really is that makes you feel behind. Some people feel behind in terms of the position that they have at their company. Some feel behind in terms of their skill or their work scope, and other people might feel behind in terms of their relationships with people in general. So make sure that you are clear on what you feel behind of, and then you got to ask yourself whether there's any truth to it, because it is one thing to have the feeling of being behind of something, and it's another thing to actually be behind in your career and life. So how can you differentiate those two? I think there are only two situations where you are actually behind in career and life. And the first one is related to biological realities, which have to do with your physique. For example, if you want to become a world champion in ice skating, then it might be too late to start at the age of 50. So that is a biological reality. So if you are already 50 years old and want to start ice skating with a goal in mind that you want to become a world champion, then yeah, you are behind in your career in that sense. But if, let's say, you are approaching 40 and you've decided that you wanted to start to learn coding because that's something that could be very beneficial for your career in the future, then I don't think that there is any reason why you shouldn't or why you can't do it. There is just no biological reality or biological fact that would stand against it. Of course, there are arguments to be made that your brain deteriorates over time and with age, but there's also a counteracting force, as in the more you use your brain actively and learn new things, the more functional it will also remain over the years. Anyways, the second situation where I think that you are actually behind in your career is when you are not using your full potential. For example, you have the goal to become a successful photographer, and you actually have the skills and you have some experience in photography, but you are not doing anything about it. You are not using your free time to develop your skills. So day after day, year after year goes by where you spend your free time watching Netflix or YouTube or hanging around, and you're not using that time effectively to work on the things that matter to you. And that, yes, I would say would be a case where you are actually behind in your career because you are lagging behind your own potential. So let's talk a bit about where this feeling of being behind in your career might stem from. You might have a lot of assumptions about what a successful career should look like. You have this image about an ideal timeline where at a certain age you should already be at a certain position with a certain salary, working on a certain job scope, and so on. And these are assumptions of a traditional career path in which career development usually goes in one way, and that is up. So from year to year, what you do is get to the next position and climb up the hierarchy. One thing that could change your assumptions about career path is the fact that when it comes to career development, it doesn't have to always go up. So there are different ways how you can develop your career. One way is hierarchical, where you climb up the corporate ladder. The other option is that you can take a more specialized route, meaning that you become an expert or a specialist in something and you accumulate the necessary knowledge and experience by moving sideways. Feeling behind in your career might also have a much bigger underlying reason, which is that there is actually a big mismatch between your personality or your purpose, your values, what is important to you, and the job or the career that you are working in now. This is perhaps something more abstract, but nevertheless something really important for you to get to the bottom of. You might be working in a job or career right now that looks fabulous from the outside, and even outsiders would say that you have a very successful career. But despite that, you might still feel that you are behind in your career because what you are doing on a daily basis does not align with your purpose. In any case, no matter why you feel that you are behind in your career or life, the fact is that something has to change. One of these two following things have to change. Option number one, by the way, I always like to think in terms of options, and if you have been following my videos, you might have noticed this, because I think that each time we encounter a difficult situation or a problem, if we come up with several options and choose from them, that makes us realize that we do have a choice in anything that we do, and that we are not just victims that have to surrender to the environment or the situation. But anyways, option number one is to change your assumptions or your expectations to fit the reality that you are facing right now. This means, for example, if right now you are 26, let's say, and you are working as an admin staff at a company that you don't like, at a job that you hate, and you feel like you are not getting paid what you are supposed to, you can simply change your expectations, your assumptions about where you should be at. You can just tell yourself that that is just fine. That is where you are supposed to be. So you are aligning your assumptions about what should happen at this stage with the reality. And you can tell yourself that everything is just fine. There's no problem, and I can just go on with my life. This seems like an easy way out, and while not many people will admit to it, many people do this. They kind of adjust their expectations over the year to fit their reality, so they can go on with their lives and not being disappointed in themselves and not being too hard on themselves. But the question that I want to ask you, if you change your assumptions, your expectations in this way, will you really be fine? I guess not, but tell me if I'm wrong in the comments below. The second option, and I would always definitely take the second option, is to try and adjust the assumptions and expectations that you have about life or about the milestones that you want to hit in life. If right now you are feeling behind in your career and you are feeling a bit down or disappointed about it, then take this moment, take this situation to rethink what success, what personal success means to you. Try to brainstorm what an ideal career would look like to you. Readjust it and tailor it in a way that suits your life and your values and your purpose. And don't just think about the next 1 year or 2 year or even 5 years, but think about your career aspirations for your entire life. If you are a millennial and you are, let's say, 25 years old now, then you have an approximately 50% chance of getting to the age of 100 years old, which means that you have another 75 years to live. And there is so much that you could possibly do in those 75 years. And once you are aware of that reality, of that gift of a possibly longer life, you can take the liberty to really let yourself dream and imagine about all the things that you would ideally want to do in your life. And you can give yourself the time to accomplish these things. So instead of trying to cram everything into the next 2 and 3 years and then blame yourself if you don't meet those goals, try to spread it out across more years, across a longer span of time, and expand your career goals beyond just position, the company you want to work for, and your salary. But go beyond that. Think of things that are truly inspirational to you and also specific. So there are two really important things that you need to realize here. And the first thing is that all that matters is what you do now, no matter what happened in the past. Of course, in the past, a lot of crap might have happened. I don't believe that there is anyone in this world who hasn't experienced any major setback or failure in the past. All that matters is what you do now into the future, and know that a lot of things can change in a very short time. You might be disappointed about the way that things went so far in your life, but if you are able to change course and change your mindset, then a lot can happen within 1 year. The reason why I finally made it to Toronto, Canada is because I spent a very intensive 6 months planning that. I planned together with my husband to go to Canada so that we could both learn more about the film industry here. So within less than 6 months, we planned everything, and that changed the whole course of our lives. So if right now you continue to sulk and you continue to pity yourself, nothing will change even in the next 10 or 20 years. You might still be stuck in your same old job that you hate. But if you get something going right now and work on it very intensively, then a lot can change even within a month. Understanding about the concepts of multiple careers and a multi-staged life might also change your mindset. Multiple careers is the different ways in which you can structure your career. And this is especially relevant to people who have various interests, which they want to pursue in a professional setting and not just as a hobby. So for these kind of people, they might have several careers that they work on in parallel. They might sacrifice going up the hierarchy and climbing the corporate ladder, but instead of that, they are working on all the things that are purposeful to them and that they feel passionate about. And what's even more relevant here is multiple consecutive careers, which means that you can work on different careers throughout different stages of your life. So realizing the fact that you might even get to the age of 100, you can kind of dissect your life into multiple stages. Let's say, for example, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, and so on. So if you have different kind of aspirations, perhaps there are times when you want to work in a corporation, times where you want to build a business, times where you want to focus more on your family. You can define each decade or different years based on what is important to you at that moment. And looking at life in this way, this means that you have many chances to start over again. Maybe not starting over completely, because every time you start something new or you change careers, you take something from the old career with you, right? You still have your old relationships, the skills you've acquired, and the experience, and so on. But what I want to say here is that you always have the chance to start something new again. There's no rule that says that if you start a career when you're 25, that is a once in a lifetime decision and you have to stick to it throughout your entire life until you're 65 or so. That is not the case at all. Even later in life, when most people are focused on how they can retire as quickly as possible, there are many people who start new careers. For example, in my own family, my father started writing his first book when he was 70 years old, and now he's writing his second book. My mother started learning Tai Chi in her early 60s, and in her late 60s, she started a career in teaching Tai Chi to other people. I also want to give you some perspective. Anyone who is on the journey to achieve something that is worthwhile will feel that the struggle is very hard, and at times they will ask themselves, is this worth it? I feel that I'm not getting ahead and I'm not there where I am supposed to be. Again, feeling behind in life. On the other hand, there are already many people who made it, meaning that they have achieved what they wanted to achieve, what was important to them. But they too went through these years of struggle. But once they got past the struggle and they arrived at their temporary destination, they feel very happy and proud about it. If you want to have a fulfilling and meaningful career, there are a lot of mindsets and assumptions that you need to change. And as I said in the beginning, there is a positive side to feeling behind in life if you act on it. Meaning, if you have a strong feeling of being behind in life now, it is a good indicator that something is not going right. Something is not aligned within yourself, and that is a super opportunity to do something about it. It is better to realize now at a relatively younger age that you might be behind in life in some way so that you can do something about it, instead of feeling or fooling yourself into believing that everything is just fine, you're just okay. But one day you wake up and you are 80 or 90 and you look back at your life and you regret all the things that you did not take action on. I hope this video was useful to you. Share with me in the comments what your thoughts are. If you don't want to miss out on my other videos, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the little alarm bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.